In this video, I'm gonna visit the garage of Pejman Ghadimi. He is the founder of Secret Entourage and Exotic Car Hacks, and also a best-selling author with the book Third Circle Theory. He's someone I've been following for years, and I'm really excited to share his automotive passion with these cars in the garage, because the spec of these cars are literally some of the best spec cars you will ever see. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today is a bit of a special day because, as you can see, I'm not in my usual office. I'm in an office, but it's not the type of office that you would see every day. I'm in PJ's office here in Delray Beach, and we're gonna have a look at some of his collection and his cars.
What's up, everybody?
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm all right.
You stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to do this. It's a really cool collection you have here.
I ran out of space at the house, so basically I got this little man cave.
Which one is your daily driver?
Well, that's actually at the house. That's the Urus, the Lamborghini truck. In between that and the Lamborghini truck. So this is the Rolls-Royce Dawn. This is a launch edition from Europe, so it doesn't. That's why the color is super rare to find in graphite pearl with the Hermes interior orange launch.
Okay.
This was originally spec'd out for a European customer and wasn't allowed to be in the US, and then it made it to the US.
Was it any regulation specifically for the
no,
US?
Because the launch car in the US was basically blue on orange.
Okay.
And this was gray on orange. And so the guy changed his mind last minute and decided to take delivery in the States, so they allowed it as kind of an exception. It came here, but I was really lucky too, because as a result of that, it came with a 6-year original warranty and then an additional 2-year CPO.
Okay.
So it's like crazy, like, because we don't have this in the US.
It's a good deal.
This is like, yeah, this is forever on the warranty, which is like really cool. And then it's been fitted with some 22-inch Boston wheels.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Customized with the factory RR, logos, floating logos, to kind of retain the OEM Plus look, slightly lowered, but not too much.
Yeah, I think if you have a Rolls-Royce, the wheels on cars, they make such a big difference.
Wheels either make or break a car.
Exactly.
It's like clothes on a person, right? Fit on a suit is the same way, basically, I look at it.
And
so this is the car that gets driven the most whenever I need to go somewhere, because you can actually, a lot of people will know this about the Dawn, but it's my favorite Rolls of all time because it allows you to comfortably sit 4 people, which is really rare to find a convertible that comfortably sits full 4 grown adults without an issue. It's basically like a fully loaded Dawn, and really nice car. I mean, really good buys right now if you're in the market for a Dawn, because these are like 420K new, and you can buy them used for like 220, 250.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You dropped a lot.
Yeah.
I love this pinstripe.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
It's beautiful.
And that was the part of the launch with the orange interior. So
Okay.
really unique and rare car all around.
So what do we have over here? This is stealthy.
Yeah, so
this is crazy looking.
This is a really rare car. This is actually
SVJ, is it?
It's an SVJ Roadster. It's one of the highest stickered SVJ Roadsters ever made. It's got factory Nero Nemesis paint, which was almost $30,000 option.
So this is a paint and not a wrap.
It's got PPF on it to protect it, but it's actually like matte black paint called Nero Nemesis. It's a really awesome matte black that switches from matte gray to matte black. Comes with every carbon option possible on the SVJ. It's been spec'd with a $30,000 one-of-one ad personam interior, all in suede, which gives it a really, really incredible look, and really pops, right? And matching orange calipers. And if you follow through, you have all your carbon options here. We've also fitted it with a Rift exhaust, which is really rare, including
I love the plate too.
Yeah, including a set of test pipes, as well as a VF Engineering Stage 2 tune. It's got Novitec suspension, and then it's sitting on Anarchy Wheels. I tried to...
Yeah, they're a local company, right?
Well, no, actually. So Anarchy is is mainly owned by Wheels Boutique in Miami.
Oh, okay.
But the wheel is actually manufactured by HRE. So
okay.
It's HRE's more aggressive design line. And that's why, for that reason, it just looks... It's just a really good looking wheel.
Anarchy is like a sub-brand of HRE?
Yeah, like basically it's most wheels are manufactured by the same 3 companies, out of California. And HRE
I didn't know that.
Yeah, HRE is like the #1 best manufacturer, out there. Actual designs are made out of Miami, which are more aggressive and exciting than you say a typical, like a wheel for a typical car. car.
I also like that the calipers are orange.
Yeah, exactly.
With the interior,
orange. Yep,
looks great.
Exactly. And then the other cool feature is that this logo is usually a sticker on most cars. You know, in this case, it's painted for like $12,000. You can have that done basically.
Wow.
It's cool because at least it doesn't have that upper, weird
Yeah,
sticker feel.
you can't feel
and
it.
it's under the PPF, so it's flat.
True.
And it looks really cool.
So I'm curious about this, because this reminds me of the F1 Le Mans.
So that's 2021 720S Le Mans edition. It's one of 50. So there were 50 Le Mans editions made in 2021 to commemorate the end of the 720S. The Le Mans edition is a little bit different than the factory car because a lot of the offsets you see, the black pieces, are typically gray on the car, like being on a regular 720S.
These pieces down here?
Yeah, so in this particular car, they're black and Sarte gray, so it's a two-tone finish. On a regular car, it's basically like silverish gray and it doesn't have the two-tone paint scheme. In addition to that, you get the original F1 Le Mans wheels.
Yeah, they look exactly like the F1s.
Yeah, it is the same exact wheel.
Oh, it is?
And then you get also the roof scoop, which was never offered previously on a 720, only on a 765. It's basically a mix between a 720 and 765, retaining the lines of the 720 and the performance of the 720, but giving it a very different kind of casual upgraded look.
It really stands out with the wheels. I think they made it into a good homage to the F1.
The wheels are basically like the wheels are a hit or miss for people. Either they love them or they hate them. So either it's like, oh, it's too old, they don't belong in the car, or people love them because they understand their heritage.
Exactly.
And they like the beefier look. The only thing I've done to that car is I've upgraded the tires to be Trophy R tires, so it gives it a media race look. It's built to spec with wheels, so you never do even these. Like everything is built in a way that it matches the configuration you're trying to get. So these are supposed to be like aggressive without rubbing or anything else. So this is an aggressive wheel. It fills the fender completely. It's the factory size.
Okay.
Same as the factory OEM wheels, except that it's offset a little bit more aggressively. So it fills the fender better, especially when you lower the car. In addition to that, we replaced the Pirellis because they're garbage with Michelins.
Okay.
Yeah, so Michelins are like way better on anything, and so it works.
And over here we have a beautiful Pista, right?
Yeah, so this is a one-of-one tailor-made Pista.
Let's look at this interior.
Yeah, this had a sticker roughly. Let me get the key for you actually. So this is a one-of-one tailor-made Pista. It's got a sticker of 550,000. The average Pista is a sticker of 420, 430. Okay. Most of that comes from carbon upgrade and design upgrades. So it has
have all these pieces down here.
Yeah, every piece possible in carbon fiber, including this hood piece, which is extremely rare on the Pista, very, very rarely seen in carbon. So you have that. In addition to that, you have the two-scheme paint. The paint's called Azure de Plata. It's basically a historic color for Ferrari. Along with this, decided to do the white stripe with the yellow pinstripe to, again, this is all painted on, but it gives really contrast with the yellow on the inside of the seats and the Cuyo interior. The entire interior is made out of dry carbon, so it's a lot.
Dry carbon?
Yeah, dry carbon, which is really, really cool. I'll show you. So the outside is all wet carbon, meaning glossy, shiny carbon, and the interior is all dry carbon.
So, okay, it's matte.
Yeah, exactly. So there's zero.
Yeah, the carbon here.
There's 0 pieces that are not carbon, basically, on what you can do in carbon on the car.
So here you have the matte finish on the carbon piece on the inside.
Very artsy car. You have tailor-made painted shields for $40,000, which were basically airbrushed instead of the emblems that are on. The car's been upgraded with Novitec suspension, so it's lowered slightly with spacers, because this doesn't have center lock, so it's out about 10 millimeters. Capristo mirrors, because Ferrari doesn't offer carbon mirrors, and then Capristo on the door handles as well. It's got a Novitec exhaust, and other than that, it's completely stock. The entire engine bay is also carbon, which is cool.
I always thought there was an interesting placement for the door handle right there. It sits kind of low.
Yeah, I mean, especially because the car's lowered too, so it gets even lower than usual.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a really cool car. It's not as exciting to drive as some of the naturally aspirated Ferraris from the past, but I think it's one of the most beautiful and final real like engine combustion kind of like race Ferrari that they're gonna make. Because even I have 2 SF90s on order. Both of those cars are hybrid replacements to this.
Yeah.
So I have a coupe and a spider on order. So
Sweet.
both of those will be here in the next month.
Hopefully I can combine and shoot them.
Yeah. There's a matte black one and a matte white one.
For me, when it comes to for this type of Ferrari, the most beautiful to me has always been the 458.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think the 458 is amazing. Yeah.
Because that's the stripped down version of that's the original shape of the,
you see, like
car.
I don't like the design of the 488. I think the 488 is ugly. I love the Pista. I love the 458. I hated the 488. I love the Pista. And then I just really can't get into the F8. I had an F8. I hated it. I sold it in 3 weeks.
What did you felt was wrong about the F8?
Fit and finish. I feel like all manufacturers everywhere.
Okay.
Because I've owned so many cars now. I've owned like over 300 exotics. So like the thing with all manufacturers is that they're getting to a place where their average cars, meaning not their race versions, meaning the base car they put out, like the base 720, the base like F8, the base 488, they're becoming very plastic and they're becoming very too optionally inclined to be cheap. Meaning like they allow people to do all the plastic interior car. So they take away from the quality build of a Ferrari and they go, hey, you can afford one. Here's a cheap one. And I think that's the part that people really don't realize is that there is a huge issue with that, for me anyways, in the exotic world. Well, now I am forced to buy only the race equivalents of the cars because like the regular Aventador is a shit box.
Yeah.
The SV and the SVJ are like cool. Like the Pista is like cool, but the 488 is a complete shit box. Like same with the F8, and I feel like the SF90 will be fantastic. But they're almost kind of pushing their loyal clientele into like these special cars at higher pricing. And they're basically opening up this like base model bullshit to like everybody.
Oh, I think that's partly because they kind of have to nowadays.
Well, they have to if they want to be profitable.
People, I mean, exactly. And you have the Lambo SUVs. You have, I'm sure McLaren's going to come out with an SUV sooner or later. Ferrari's coming out with the Pearl.
This is the perfect example of why McLaren shouldn't, because their quality is really cheap. Like meaning not only their quality is built, their reliability is complete shit. When you look at that and you go, okay, so reliability is crap, right? Then you also have to think about the other side of it, which is if reliability is crap, then why would you want to make an SUV when families rely on an SUV to get from point A to point B? Meaning
people will probably still buy it though.
Well, people will buy anything. I mean, but like if you look at the Aston Martin DBX, that's an SUV that came way too late.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Again, not too exciting. Came too late.
The rear end looks a little weird.
Right.
With
but what happens
Vantage.
is they're not going to have enough time to adapt and steal sales. So what ends up happening is you have a car that'll depreciate to like 120 grand, and then it'll be great to drive a little bit for free, but really nothing of exciting value. And that's how you can see it. All the values for average cars drop significantly faster. That's a lot of what we teach at Exotic Car Hacks. And those cars drop way faster than anything.
Let's talk about this is a GT3 RS.
Yeah, this is a really special car too. Every car here is kind of like unique in its own right.
I love the color.
Yeah, this is a voodoo blue paint to sample GT3 RS. So what that is like a really rare colored blue. Now, in addition to that, this car was completely upgraded. It has $80,000 in modifications on it. Everything from all the plastic pieces around the car have been upgraded to the 2019 version. The entire interior has been updated to the 911R version.
Okay.
And the wheels are a GT2 RS magnesium wheels that cost $27,000 in white gold. Exhaust is by GMG, headers by GMG, tuned by GMG. And the car just not only runs spectacular, but it's basically the best of its 2016 era. Every little piece that could have been upgraded, every little thing that could have done, every option you could want on the car from 2016 is also there.
I do prefer this front bumper to the newer ones.
To the 19?
Yeah.
I had 19.
Because the angle is this way
right, so
on the 19s.
I had 19, and I can tell you the difference between the two from an ownership standpoint is the 19 is a better track car, the 16 is a better street car.
Okay.
So it's a much more fun street car. The low end torque is better. It's not as precise. It's more fun to drive. But the 19 is like a weapon on a track. Like it's scary.
Yeah, I can
imagine.
imagine.
Scary how much you can get for the price. The new 19s are like right now they're 220 to 250. GT2 RSs are going for 320 to 250. And then the 16s, like for base models, you can buy for like 160, 170 now.
Okay.
And the like PTS models around 200.
This is one of my favorites in your garage, just because of the history with the design of this car. I never seen one in red and black stripes either, so this is a unique car as well.
Yeah, this is a 2006 Ford GT 4-option car. It's actually been modified and it makes over 1,000 horsepower.
I don't think you have one stock car in here.
No, well, yeah, actually, I mean, the 720 stock.
Yeah, I guess.
Except the tires, you know, which are an option from the factory.
But they only made 50 of those.
Yeah, meaning I don't have an ordinary car in any of my
Exactly.
cars. Yeah, even my Urus is like a super rare spec.
Let's talk about exotic car hacks and what exactly is it. How I see it is, it's not about what car you want, you love, or you want this car. It's about getting the right car at the right time, the right mileage, the right spec, and so on, and then you just buy the car that's in the pool of exotics.
But you can still love that car, right? One of the things that I learned building exotic car hacks was originally the concept was created back in 2005. Actually, it's been around longer than people think. And I created it for my first fund at the time that was called VIP Motoring, where I would basically invest people's money in cars. So I would teach people how to invest in exotic cars. But today, in 2014, 2015, we started revamping the model to be a do-it-yourself-at-home model. And so as a result of that, people started wanting to learn how to buy exotic cars without losing money. So what we teach is the core essence of the financial components that make the car world function. What people don't know about cost for manufacturers, what people don't know about depreciation schedules, what people don't know about maintenance schedules, not like you need an oil change, but what typically goes wrong in certain models, what models to avoid, and what makes exotic car ownership more lovable. The reality of the situation is the majority of the car market today, like people that buy cars, never keep their cars forever. Like they go into a car hoping they would keep it forever. They go like, I've always wanted a Ferrari, it's my dream car.
Yeah, it gets old after a while. I mean, anything gets old.
And then one, either the experience isn't what they expect, or B, after a year, they get bored and they want to improve that experience. They go, I want to get a newer one, or I want to get a different car, or Lamborghini should be the next thing I try. Well, in the typical sense, in the past, people have always lost a lot of money making these switches, and every year they lose 20 to 30,000 doing that, and that's a big deal. You know, like to lose $30,000 is basically losing $3,000 a month to drive a car. Which, if you keep doing that, then you start saying the usual thing, which is cars are money pits, you know, and I keep losing money, and then there's liability, and what if I go to a dealer and he needs something for $7,000? So this historical kind of like way people have been doing business has been horrible. And so we came up with this idea that there would be a better way outside of renting cars or doing leasing or some of these things that people have brainwashed us to think the auto industry are smart financial things to do. We've taught people that there is a way where you can actually buy an exotic, enjoy it for a year, and either break even, you know, get out. Some cases make money depending on how well you bought it, but in many cases lose very little money. Like the majority of our people maybe drive a car like this GT3 RS and might lose $1,000 after a year of driving it. You know? And or they may make $5,000. But the point is, it's not even about the money aspect of it. It's more that they've enjoyed the car for a duration of 1 year. The cost of renting it for a day, you know? So the point was that even if they wanted to get out of it, now they didn't have a financial burden in doing so. And I think that's the benefit of learning exotic car hacks instead of conventional car buying when you walk in a dealership and walk out.
What do you think about, I don't think I've seen any classics on there, because I think classics is a market that you can actually also make a lot of.
I mean, you know, consider like the Ford GT kind of a car like that, right?
Yeah.
Classics, I mean, classics in the sense that older cars that are, let's
60s,
say,
70s muscle cars.
So is there a market for those cars? 100%. Does that market go up all the time? 100%. Like if you buy the right cars, they go up. There's two main issues with classics. The first one is you can't drive them as much as you want, and the experience of driving them isn't as cool anymore.
That's true.
Meaning they're getting older now, right? The second piece to that, which is very different, is in the money factor, there's very low liquidity in classics, meaning that like there's hundreds of customers lined up for this GT3 RS at the right price. There isn't 100 lined up for this. And while this is still not even a classic, this will make more money than this, you know, in the long term. But if you need to get out of it every year, if you need to get something new,
it's going to take a long time to sell it.
Exactly. So in other words, there isn't as big of a market. Like if I wanted to sell this car overnight, I would get 20, 30 offers of people that are like, oh, I've been looking for an SVJ, I can't get one. So there is a time frame to play with newer stuff where everybody wants the newer stuff. So there's just more liquidity and transaction in the newer type cars than there is in the classics. Now, just not to insult anyone with classics, there is money to be made in classics too. There's money to be made in anything. The point becomes that a general rule of thumb that is adopted by all people works better on a newer exotic than it does on a classic exotic, just because there's so much to learn in that, and you know, learning how to send cars to auctions and doing things like that.
Makes sense.
Does the typical person working a job or owning a business is not going to have that time to do.
One good example though of, I wouldn't call it a classic yet, but the 458 is going up in value like
So
crazy.
there's a lot of cars that are trending up now instead of down. You know, I mean, like the GT3 RS started trending up about 2 months ago. You know, they were going down, 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 and now they're trending back up. The 4GT is now trending up. The Pistas have rebounds, and we don't know if that's going to retain or not. But because of the post-COVID era, a lot of these cars have started bouncing back. But again, it doesn't mean that these certain newer cars will continue to rise instead of just kind of.
You never really know, right? And it also depends on what the manufacturer releases after.
So no, you do know. That's the thing that I try to tell people. If you get really good at this game, you start realizing the patterns that cars take. So it becomes easy to predict which cars will go up or not, but you can't predict when. That's the difference.
Okay.
Like, so you can predict what will work, but you can't predict when will it.
Okay.
You know, will it make sense for you to hold your money in it long enough? Meaning, if you buy that GT3 RS for 170 2 years ago, and you go, I'm going to hold that. Does it make sense for it to go from 170 to 190 in 5 years? Is that a money play? Probably not, because 20K in 5 years is a garbage return, you know? But if you're looking at the 4GT, you're gonna get a better return, you know, on your money, and that's an easier to predict kind of like timeline because of its kind of already over a 10-year move.
Yeah, so the longer the car has been on the market, the easier you can see the
curves are
curvatures.
To understand where they're going, right? There's
That
more
makes
data
sense.
on the car, yeah.
And special cars like the Pista and the SVJ, I think they're always going to have their place in the marketplace.
See, I would agree, except that I think the SVJ is only having its place in the market because it's the final V12 naturally aspirated car.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Lamborghini's putting out, and it's the best form of it. And I think that's why it holds the name Jodo. You know, that was the first Murcielago-ish, you know, car that came out with, and this was the end of it. So
The Jodo without the windscreen.
Yeah, exactly. So I think one of the things with this car is just the historic beginning and ending era of Lamborghini is what it remains special. But I don't necessarily think that this car itself is special. I think its timing in the market is special. So
Yeah.
it's very different.
It's all about timing.
Yeah, and that's why I said time is what differentiates, you know, when something goes up or down rather than if it goes up or down. Like we know for a fact the final SVJ will 100% be at some point a good collector buy, but we just can't tell if that's in 6 months because people will realize and scoop them up, and we can't tell if it'll be in 5 years. A lot of that becomes because there is a shortage of supply and a hint of demand on something like this that gives a false illusion of values going up when in reality values aren't necessarily creeping up. There isn't enough cars in the market to create a pattern. That's the issue.
Okay.
Like there isn't enough trades going on in the market to say, hey, these cars are like way up. Everybody's paying a million.
So you can't build an algorithm yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Until there is enough 2-3 years that at least go by, so you can start seeing values kind of on a longer term.
When you have more
Because
data.
Making financial decisions based on short-term data is a dangerous game. If you've been in the money game, like this is a very dangerous thing to do because you're creating assumptions instead of data.
Funny story about the Aventador. When I was studying in Italy, they were developing this car, and we went to the Lamborghini Museum in the design department where they actually sketched it out. So the whole class was sitting in a room, and they had like this curtain between us and the Aventador, and it wasn't revealed yet. So they just fired up the engine, and the whole room just shook. And of course, everybody wanted to go and check it out, but they just did it to tease us. It was a fun experience. I like these artwork you have here on the wall as well.
Yeah, those are just past cars.
Cool.
Every time we would do a photo shoot with one of my cars, he would come up with something cool about it that he thought was interesting. It's a sense of kind of the past to today, right? All of these cars, I mean, hold somewhat of a special value. That Performante in white was the one I used in Netflix. That 19 GT3 RS was actually my first personally owned GT3 RS. That was my first personally owned Aventador.
What was the next Netflix show?
That was called Fastest Car Season 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was basically racing poor people in their Honda Civics. And
No, like tuned Civics?
Yeah, like tuned Civics versus like stock.
Did you win, or I mean, Civics can be tricky.
The show was fantastic. It was a really good experience. It was a lot of fun, but it didn't make any sense because we came to the show. I actually had a very powerful Ferrari F12, and they specifically told me that it wasn't allowed to be used because it was modified. And I said it has to be stock. I said, okay, I'll use this Performante. And what was actually really interesting is they told us that the competing cars were Honda Civics and Mitsubishis and things like that, and they all had to be street legal. So when I got there, I was like, great, street legal cars, whatever, so it'll be fun. So I get there and everybody's got this basically illegal drag car and drag slicks with no you know, like with like all these swaps like showing up in trailers. I'm like, what the f is this? So they were like, well, these cars are legal. I'm like, no, they're not.
They just slammed the plate on the back. And
yeah, exactly. They just basically put the plate on and we're like, yep, we're gonna race. So there was a like 7-second Civic in there, like which was that guy.
Front wheel drive Civic or front wheel drive 7 seconds?
Yeah, it was like one of the CRX looking Civics, and it's just like crazy. And I mean, I knew from the moment that guy showed up, I was like, I'm gonna get destroyed in this. I was like, that doesn't even matter, but the show was a really big success. It was a lot of fun.
Before we finish up, I want to cover these cool Transformers looking pieces right here. Can you tell me more about what they're made of and how you...
So I basically found these when I visited Las Vegas, like a couple of years ago. I fell in love with one of the things that I saw in one of the hotels at the Venetian. These statues were all over, and I thought they were really cool, and I found the artist that makes them. They're basically made out of car parts.
Yeah,
the one you're looking at is made out of about 2,500 car parts, and as a result of 2,500 car parts, it weighs about 2,900 pounds.
Yeah, like a
So it doesn't move. Yeah, so it's basically a giant car, right? And it's a transformer. This is the Bugatti one that basically turns into the Samurai.
Does it have any LED lights at night or something?
No, nothing. And it's extremely heavy. You can't move it. When we put it here, I forgot we can't really move it.
Yeah.
And at the time I didn't have lifts, so I don't know what to do. And then we got this one recently because
It's got the beard.
I got this one last year, yeah. And this is also a transformer.
Yeah.
Same thing, it weighs a little bit more. This one is 3,500 pounds.
Exhaust pipes here.
Yeah, super, super cool. This one's very like realistic, like the work on it is excellent.
That's cool.
And then we have a smaller version of Bumblebee in the office as well. Just a really big effort to bring them here.
Yeah, the shipping, I imagine.
It takes like 2 weeks, and then we have to put it together. We need 5 guys in a forklift.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and then the crate is usually the size of like 2 cars.
And it comes assembled like this?
No, it comes in pieces.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it comes in like 4 or 5 pieces. Like the legs are one piece, the arms are each one piece, the torso is one piece, and the head's one piece. Like that.
Okay.
To give you an example, the head itself weighs about 150 pounds. So like if you take that, you have to climb over, you know, with a 150-pound piece and try to like lay it on.
I like the cigar in there too.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to this. Like even the gun, it weighs like 100 pounds. So it's like
nuts.
It's really annoying to try to put together or take off, but very cool once it's here, obviously. You know.
Yeah.
Almost guarantees we stay here and pay the landlord forever. You know?
That's true. So that's about it for the garage tour of PJ. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. And thank you so much to PJ for taking the time to show me all of his cool cars. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, because I'm gonna make more of these walk around videos of very special cars in the future. Thank you as always for watching. I will see you in the next one. Take care.